Yeah, we do have a question about market volatility, but since we're talking 401ks, we're going to kick it off with Joey's question about 401ks. He says, how much consideration should I put into my employer's 401k match vesting over a few years before I start to look for jobs with a higher salary and better compensation packages? He's 28, he's partnered, and he has no kids. So how much should the vesting schedule play into your decisions about jobs and careers?
Well, let me explain what vesting is first, then why don't you talk about how you think about that when it comes to changing jobs. You know, when you participate in a 401k, there's a couple different types of money that can go in. Your contributions can go in through salary deferrals. Those dollars are always 100% vested immediately, meaning you put that money in, you change jobs, you get to take it with you. Well, in addition to that, your employer can also put money in, and they can put money in as a safe harbor contribution. They can put money in as a matching contribution, or they can put money in as a profit sharing contribution. Well, depending on what types of contribution your employer puts in, they might put some time requirement necessary for you to have worked there before you actually have access to those dollars. So if they do a profit sharing contribution and they put it in and they say that there's a 6-year graded schedule, you will have needed to have worked at that employer for at least 6 years before you're 100% vested in those contributions. So a lot of times when you look at your 401k balance, you might have a balance that says $50,000, but of that 50, only 40,000 is vested. So then the question becomes, if I have an unvested balance, if I'm thinking that I might have to forfeit some of those dollars if I were to change jobs, how much did that factor into my job changing consideration?
Yeah, this is, by the way, Joey, congratulations that you're actually thinking about this. I'm shocked at how many people will change a job in the month of November when there's a year-end bonus right around the corner that might be 10, 15, 20% of their compensation. People do it all the time. Or, I'll tell you, when I worked in government, I was always shocked at how many people would leave a year before they vested into their pension benefit, like for law enforcement and other things. I was like, you know, just to go make $3,000 or $4,000 more in the county just north of where they were already working.
Penny wise and pound
foolish. So here's 3 things I quickly wrote down. First of all, know what you're walking from and the impact of timing. It's exactly what I'm talking about, is that you need to literally take an inventory of all of your bonuses that are coming up, when they are, put the date down of when you anticipate these bonuses coming due. Are there any like vesting dates? Are there any restrictions on any of these benefits that you have? Know those numbers and actually write it down, and then do the math. Actually figure out what is the dollar amount of money, estimate it out. What are you walking from, and how is the timing of that impacted? And then the last thing is, does this move the needle? Does this change? Maybe instead of you leaving in November, you leave in February because you want to get that year-end bonus. Or maybe you figure out that your 401k has a last day provision on getting those profit sharing contributions, and you realize, hey, maybe I ought to be here through the first day of next year so that I actually get that full year contribution even on the profit sharing. So ask yourself, does this change the timing of my decision, and does it change the overall decision? Because maybe this benefit is bigger. Hence, that's why your employer offers you these golden handcuff type things to try to entice you to stay as well as to keep you happy.
Another thing that I would think through is really understand how your plan operates. So how does your plan calculate years of service? If you are on some sort of graded or vested schedule, it might be 20% after year 2, and then 40, and then 60, and then 80, and so on. Well, if the way that they schedule that is calendar year, that might be one calculation you should consider. But if it's based on your date of employment and they look at actual time served, that sounds bad, actual time worked, you want to make sure you understand that, because you just don't want to leave a month early, 2 months early, 3 months early, and leave that on the table. And the same thing is true. I know we were talking about 401ks here, but if you are someone who is paid with incentive compensation and you have RSUs or stock options or those types of compensation, make sure you factor that into. It's not just base salary at this job versus base salary at that job. It is entire benefits package versus entire benefits package. You want to make sure, I think you said it, Brian, do the math to make sure you know what you're going from and you know what you're going to.